Hello, guys, and welcome back to this new episode. Today, we are going to talk about Shi Pei Pu. Who was Shi Pei Pu? She was, or he was, a secret agent, a very particular one. Why do I say she or he was? That remains to be seen. Now, we have to understand what happens here. So we have to basically take a step back and set up the framework. We are in 1964. 1964, when the leader of France Libre, named Charles de Gaulle, who had been a great conductor, a great leader, driving France out of the Nazi control and the Nazi regime, recognizes that China is an important interlocutor. China is important, and therefore in 1964, Charles de Gaulle sends the first representation, the first diplomatic representation to China. Among the people he sent, that was Bernard Boursicouట్. Bernard Boursicouಟ್ was French, first of all. He was in his 20s. He had not had any sort of experience before living to China. He also had attended a all-male college, a all-male boarding school, if you like, and that will be important. Important for a reason that will be clear very, very soon. Bernard Boursicouಟ್ is young. He's in his 20s, we said, right? And that means also that he's living his best life. And therefore, he tries to take advantage of this experience. So he goes to parties, meets people, has a very good life, okay? At a certain point, he meets and he remains fascinated by Shi Pei Pu. Who is Shi Pei Pu? Is it a man or woman? Still unclear at this point of the story. Chinese, looking for certain like a man, loves to dress up, loves making female characters, opera singer, so we understand that he has to play some sort of like female character in his plays or her plays at this point, because I don't want to spoil the story yet. So Bernard Boursicouಟ್ meets Shi Pei Pu, and Shi Pei Pu tells Bernard a very interesting story. It's the story of how he is in reality a woman, how his mother had numerous daughters, right? And she was under some sort of blackmail because her husband would leave her if she had delivered another daughter, another female child. The husband wanted desperately a male, and in order to save her own marriage, the mother of Shi Pei Pu, this is what at least Shi Pei Pu says, encouraged her daughter to dress up like a man. Not only to dress up like a man, but to look like a man, to behave like one, to be as much as he could a man. Naturally, we have to think that Bernard Boursicouಟ್ was fascinated by other qualities as well. For instance, Shi Pei Pu spoke French despite working for the Chinese government. This was her job. Shi Pei Pu was actually working as a translator, but at the same time, apparently, as a spy for the Chinese intelligence. And anyway, we are already in 1965, meaning a year after upon Bernard Boursicouts' arrival, when Bernard is recalled back to France. The two had already started a relationship. And if you are wondering how is that possible, how it is possible for them to have had some sort of relationship, considering that actually Shi Pei Pu, here we're gonna say the truth, is a guy, the explanation is very simple. Apparently, at least if we go back and resort to a confession that Shi Pei Pu later on made, he tricked Bernard by hiding his member, by hiding his penis in the other cavity Also, he styled his pubic hair in a way that it looked completely like a woman. And thanks to that, and thanks also to the fact that they always had very short, very brief encounters, very brief sexual intercourses, she was able to pull out this trick for about 20 years, which is unbelievable, but Shi Peipu managed to do that. And so for 20 years, or kind of 20 years, Bernard Boucicaut believed that actually Shi Peipu was a female, was a woman. That darkness plays and tricks that he would pull out in the bedroom, Chinese traditions, more or less fake, all of that we must assume must have contributed to this sort of situation. And anyway, the two actually had a relationship. Let's also take a step back here for a second. So Bernard Boucicaut is in France and basically receives a call or a letter, we don't know that exactly, but anyway, receives information, receives a news. And the news is that Shi Peipu is pregnant. So he manages to get reassigned to the Chinese embassy, and Shi Peipu in the meanwhile has a few months to be able to buy her own son. Yes, you got that right. Of course, Shi Peipu is a male. At this point, we know the truth. So she bought, with the help of the Chinese government, naturally, she bought a son. She chose a son that was looking like Western, with Western sorts of a feature. And Bernard Boucicaut goes back to China, goes back to Beijing. He works there as an archivist, archivist for the French embassy, But then the Chinese government decides to either blackmail him or really encourage him to cooperate with the Chinese intelligence. And so he starts collaborating. He starts collaborating under that sort of pressure, also because he doesn't want to get separated by, from like Shi Peipu and the child Shi Du. And so he handed documents. Documents of little importance and little relevance. Overall, these documents weren't so exceptionally good or exceptionally in favor of the Chinese government. But anyway, he ended documents, and that constitutes betrayal of his home country, his nation, France, to be able to stay closer to Shi Peipu and the son Shi Du. We are then in 1974 when basically Bernard Boucicaut is in Mongolia. Mongolia was the closest destination for him to stay in touch with Shi Peipu and Shi Du. So the relationship continued on for a very long time. Like we are here 10 years later, basically, 9 years later, their first encounter, their first meeting, and they're still in touch. They have a child. They have allegedly some sort of relationship, right? So things get definitely more interesting when he has to leave Mongolia for good. He's gonna go back to France. At this point, it has been decided by the French government that he has to go back to France, and so he leaves Mongolia. At this point, a few years later, Shi Du and Shi Peipu also go to France. In France, Shi Peipu continues her own activity as a spy, as a Chinese spy, but also as an opera singer. And they are there also for the first period of time living together. So we are with the Boucicaut, Shi Peipu, and Shi Du living in the same house. Boucicaut was convinced to have a full-on relationship with a woman and to have had with this woman a child. Things change drastically when the visa expired. Specifically, we are talking about expiration of the visa of SHI people, and then the gendarmerie, the French police, has to check what's going on with the SHI people. And here the truth comes out, as always, I should say. At this point, then, in time, they are thrown in jail. There, Boursicouట్ tells the truth, so he doesn't know anything about the whole situation, whatever is going on. But Shipepu tries to lie, but then doctors are invited in the room, so Shipepu had to explain everything and how he would lie, how he could pretend to be a woman, and that is why we know almost unfortunately all of this and all the details, all the ins and outs of this situation. Anyway, when Boursicouಟ್ finds out the truth, is in prison and he tries to cut his throat with a razor. That was apparently a very superficial cut, but he became definitely the laughingstock of the entire France, and that scandal became so public, ended up on the covers of the main newspapers of the time. They are both sentenced to 6-7 years in prison. That is because Boursicouٹ lied and betrayed his own country, whereas Shipepu was working for the Chinese government as a spy. But the value of the documents ended in was very little and was very minor, so they are pardoned a year later by François Mitterrand, that was in charge of the French government. The relationship between the two becomes more and more strained. They will end up in a very peculiar situation where they wouldn't speak to each other. Specifically, the grudge, so to speak, the sort of like a disappointment and sense of betrayal is felt by Boursicouٹ. And on the other hand, who can say that he was not teased? So it definitely was betrayed and lied. And that also came, I believe, as a result of a great shock, that is knowing that somebody has lied to you for something like 20 years. We also know, this is mostly from SHI that we know this, we know that Shipepu always continued to love Boursicouٹ and to be in love with Boursicouٹ, but we also know that Boursicouٹ didn't want to have anything to do with her at this point in time. We also know something about the mother of SHI, in a sense that we know, again, from SHI, that the mother was too poor, and that is why she sold SHI to Shipepu. Now, we also know that Bernard Boursicouٹ ended up having a relationship with a man, so probably we have also to consider that what he thought to be just a rite of passage, so to speak, ended up revealing something way more serious, like a sexual orientation, or way more deep, like a sexual orientation. And anyway, Shipepu died in 2009. She was, or he was at this point, who knows, but he was again pretty much by himself. Boursicouٹ is still alive, I believe is in some nursing home or something like that. But the two have had a relationship that has become very famous in history as one of the greatest spy stories of our times. And again, this is your time to let me know what you think. Is it your time to let me know your thoughts if you knew this story and what you make out of it. So please let me know and comment below. I'm gonna read all your comments and hopefully, we'll have something to discuss. With that being said, I also wanna thank you for your patience. For bearing with me again for another episode. I also want to invite you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below, and hit the notification bell so to receive every new update. And we are going to discuss a different story, another story next time. With that being said, guys, thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.